Hello, Kyle. Thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to have you for this fireside chat conversation. First of all, could you introduce yourself? Let us know who you are, what you're doing in your company, and maybe a little bit more about your company.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adrien. I'm Kyle Schaeffer. I'm a software engineer at Facet, and we are trying to build the future of AI image generation. And I've been there for about 3.5 years. We're on a growing team working to build all kinds of things around AI and images and content generation. And largely my experience has come from a history of full stack engineering work. I've done quite a bit of that, but definitely with a focus on front end user experience and design. I would say that most of my experience kind of falls under that, but having a lot of fun at Facet over the past few years, building some really cool and exciting new products.
Nice. And how long have you been there?
It's been 3.5 years since the summer of 2019.
Wow.
And I'm full-time remote, so it's an interesting ride. Occasionally go out to the office, but it's a good growing team. We've grown quite a bit. I think it's about 5 times larger now than it was when I started. So it's an exciting time.
Nice, very cool. And I know like you're talking about Facet.ai, but I also know, since that's where you used Liveblocks a bit, can you tell me more about a product called Prompt.east? I don't know how we should say it, but can you clarify that for us?
Absolutely. We call it Promptist. And this was really fun. This was a Hack Week project. We occasionally have at Facet this thing called Creative Week, where everyone in the company kind of takes a break and just works on something fun or something exciting. And our last Creative Week, I was on the project team, very small team that worked on this thing called Promptist. And so basically the idea is it's a multiplayer image synthesis canvas. So it's this big 2D canvas on which you can use AI and machine learning models to generate images. But the really fun thing about it is that it is multiplayer. So you actually, you get multiple users in there. You can all go in, you type in a text prompt. You can say, show me an image of some crazy idea, and the AI will generate the image for you. Then you can place it on the canvas, you can move it around, and you can work with other users while you're doing that, which is really fun. And what we actually did is we liked the app so much after Creative Week, after the Hack Week, that we actually spent a couple more weeks productionizing it and scaling it so that we could actually release it to the public. And it's now available at prompt.ist. Again, that's our Promptist product. It kind of happened very quickly, but we just had so much fun building it, and we thought it would be good to share with the public.
That's so cool. So if I understand well, the Creative Week is kind of a hackathon that lasts a whole week, if I understand well.
That's right. Yeah, we did a 1-week hackathon. We've done several of those before. There's usually prizes involved, and it's just a great time to take a break, learn some new technologies, play around with things that people have been interested in doing, trying out new things, and this was a great opportunity to do that.
Nice. And did you win with your project Promptist?
We did.
Week? Oh,
yeah, there were multiple winners, but we had different prizes for different categories. But Promptist was definitely in the running there, and so yeah, we had some prize winners as a result.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to ask a lot of questions about the prizes, but I'll move to the next topic. But we can keep it offline. You'll tell me. So can you let me know, how did you know about Liveblocks? How did you find out about Liveblocks, and why did you decide to use Liveblocks for this project?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have had a history of trying to bring multiplayer collaborative editing to Facet's offerings for a while now, probably for almost 2 years. And 2 years ago, I don't think there was not a lot of options available in terms of like service providers. And when we discovered Liveblocks, it was like we were in the midst of doing this really difficult, roll your own sort of multiplayer. And it was as if someone answered all of our questions and came down and gave us exactly what we were looking for, because we found in our previous efforts, it was really difficult. We had built our own multiplayer feature in the flagship product at Facet, which is our image editor. that uses AI to do image editing. And we were building on a library called Auto Merge that gives you conflict-free replicated data types, or CRDTs. And we basically had all that working, but getting it all to scale, getting it to be performant, getting it to work over WebSockets so that users can communicate in real time, and then just dealing with all like the concurrency issues that come with network conditions or people falling offline. It was all really, really hard, to be honest. And when we started to shift our focus to Liveblocks, everything just became much easier. We were able to really free ourselves to focus on what mattered to us. And especially during this creative week, when we wanted to choose something, we knew we wanted to have something multiplayer that was real time. It was a no-brainer because, we had 1 week to build it. And what we really liked about Liveblocks is, I think in that week, on the first day, we had multiplayer rooms up and running. Like, that's how easy it was to get started with Liveblocks. And it was so much fun, being able to use that quickly and to really just focusing our efforts on what we thought was going to make Promptus really interesting, which was the AI and the machine learning aspect of generating the images. So it was really fun using that. It was definitely a no-brainer. And in fact, in that first week, we didn't even have a database. We just used Liveblocks for everything, like the entire thing. And in large part, that's still how it runs today. We pretty much, use Liveblocks as the single source of truth, with the exception of authentication, which we handled ourselves in a future update. But it's worked out great. We had a good time, and it was a very successful outcome for Creative Week for sure.
And I don't know if you remember, but like a high level number, like how long did it take you think, to integrate Liveblocks into your project when you were doing that Creative Week?
Oh, it was, I would say that we had it fully implemented within 3 days, but we had like a multiplayer room that you could join, and you could start to have a canvas where people could see images on the canvas at the same time. We had that working on the first day. So that was really quick and easy. And then we spent the rest of the week kind of extending that so that we got the AI and the machine learning aspect integrated into Liveblocks. We got user avatars and cursors and all that other good stuff that goes into it, sharing selection state and view states and things like that. We built that out in the remainder of the week. But yeah, the basis for it we had up and running on the first day.
Nice. That's very happy to hear that. That's exactly why we built Liveblocks. That's to help people like you. And we've been talking about a lot of technical aspects, database. Can you tell me, how did you use Liveblocks in your product? Like, what are the features that you were able to enable thanks to a tool like Liveblocks?
Absolutely. Yeah. So basically in Promptus, everything happens in a room. Everything happens when you join a room, and a room is basically a big, two-dimensional canvas. So within that canvas, first of all, we have presence. So whenever multiple users join that room, you get their avatars show up, which is always very exciting. Makes you feel like, hey, I'm doing this with another human. This is really fun.
An easy win.
Yeah, exactly. Then we added the cursor implementation that I mentioned. So because it is a two-dimensional canvas, it's pretty easy to just take a cursor position and then share it via the Presence API in Liveblocks. And then we just subscribe to that and put little cursor icons. And we had colors and like random emojis assigned to each user, so that made it like kind of fun. You'd be working with all these like fun little emojis and cursors moving around, which is really cool. And then towards the end of that week, one of the things we added is we wanted the ability to basically just see what someone is doing and maybe watch them work even. And so you can actually click on a user's avatar and your view state will mimic their view state. So as they zoom in and out, as they pan around, as they select and edit things, you can actually watch them do that, which we found to be really fun, because I think in a lot of cases, users either wanted to be kind of working next to other users, or they wanted to learn from what other users were doing and kind of fork off of that and collaborate. So that was a really fun feature we added for sure that made a big impact, I think. And then, go ahead. Oh, I was just going to add that, basically the individual things that the user does on the canvas. So in addition to seeing their cursor, You can see when they add an image. You can see when they have something selected, when they're typing in a text prompt to generate an image, when that image is loading. So even like loading states and all that stuff for communicating over Liveblocks to really give this sense that you can really see everything that's happening all the time, which is fun.
That's what I was going to say, actually. Like, I tried that with one of my colleagues, and it was awesome to see like what they were typing, like a dragon spitting fire on a building in China, let's say. And you could see them typing that. And then when they suggest images, see them like go through and the process, the mental model that they follow to choose their image, just to see that live. It was such a great experience that helped me like add new images and all to the canvas. They're very cool. Very good idea.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, that's one of the most fun things that I've experienced with Promptus is, for example, we have people at Facet who really focus on the machine learning and AI. And so they're really good at like text prompts and like coming up with just the right prompt to get really good results out of these models that we're consuming. And if I feel like, I need some help or need some inspiration or something, I just go and duplicate something they did, or I watch what they're doing and I adapt it to something else. And it just makes it so easy to kind of, adapt and work off of each other's work and learn from what other users are doing, which is kind of a unique and fun aspect of what we released.
And I'm curious, do you have more details or more like anecdotes about what is the impact on your end users of having those multiplayer features as part of the product?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think in a lot of cases, so we did collect feedback from users. We did workshops where we sort of internally used the tool. We even had a user submit a YouTube video review of the tool. So we got a lot of feedback through various channels, which was really fun. It's always interesting and enlightening to see your product through your user's eyes. I think almost everyone learns something new when that happens. And what we found is that users don't necessarily like to work on the same thing at the same time, right? Because that would be weird if you were both typing into the same text prompt. I don't think that makes a ton of sense, and that's not generally how people work. But what Liveblocks did allow us to do is they could work in proximity to each other and they could learn from each other, as I mentioned. And then one of the features we added was the ability to duplicate objects. So you can copy something and then essentially fork it and change it. And it kind of becomes this ping pong thing where you create something and then somebody else adapts it and then you create it, and people kind of have their separate areas of the canvas where they're working. And then you can bring it together and you can take the best ideas from each of those areas and collaborate on something new and something interesting, which I found really compelling. And a lot of our users seem to find that compelling as well, which is really, really fun to see.
Yeah. Being inspired by what people are doing at the same time to impact the work that you're doing. That's really the definition of creativity. So that's really cool. So
Absolutely.
I love how you use multiplayer and the impact that it has on your product. And I'm happy as a user that you did that. But could you tell me more, if we get into more of the technical aspect, could you tell me more about how you handle the custom permissions and authentication for your users and how did Liveblocks fit into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So during the creative week, we actually didn't handle authentication. So basically, if you knew the URL of a room, you could join and you could make changes. And that was really easy to do. But we did know that if we were going to release it to the public, we wanted to support private rooms. We wanted to support authentication and access control. And so we did build very quickly. We used a product called Supabase to spin up a database for it. And we basically connected the rooms to a rooms table in the database. And then that allowed us in our backend, when we're authenticating to a Liveblocks room, to either deny access if the user didn't have access, or to allow the user to access in read-only mode, which is one of the things that Liveblocks provides. So we can allow viewers that can't actually mutate the state of the room or make changes. They can just watch what's going on, but they can still kind of participate as a viewer. Or we can have kind of a sharing model where you can have a room that only the people you want access, to have access can actually get in and see that. And so that worked really well. Liveblocks makes it super easy. We use a backend endpoint in a Next.js serverless function. So we just point the Liveblocks client to that, and that you basically respond and say, can I connect or not? And so it gives us total control over who can access what, and it kind of allowed us to do some moderation as well. So in case we did need to control the content, or in any case, just have the ability to deny access when we needed to, we had that lever to pull just in case. So that was pretty easy to set up as well.
Nice. And I jumped into permissions and authentication like right away. But thank you. You gave a little bit of details about your architecture and the technology. So you mentioned Next.js. Can you just give us an overview of the technology stack that you have at Facet.ai?
Yeah, absolutely. So in this case, we use Next.js app, which uses primarily TypeScript and React, serverless functions. If you deploy to the Vercel platform, which is what we did, make it very easy to create, scalable sort of Lambda functions that will execute as a backend API, essentially. And so we're using that. And essentially, the Next.js app is mostly kind of a landing page where it lists your rooms that you can join, and then the room route, if you will, which is basically just, again, a Liveblocks room. And once you're authenticated into that room, every room has its own two-dimensional canvas that's infinite in size. People can go wherever they want on the canvas and create things. And basically, the idea is that you can add what we call frames to the canvas. And that's kind of what you see when you're using Promptus, is you see people selecting boxes or images, or there's even text frames you can add. If you want to add text to the canvas, we can support vector shapes and stuff like that. But essentially, we're storing that data in the Liveblocks room storage, and everyone has access to that that's in the room. Everyone can sort of update the frames, add them, copy them, change them, and that is ultimately what creates the visual representation of the canvas. And so all that's happening in real time. But then in terms of actually visualizing what it is that you're creating and the data that's stored in Liveblocks, we render everything via a library called Canvas Kit, which uses a renderer called Skia under the hood. So it's running in Wasm, and it has a canvas that it outputs, and it's super fast. It's a very, very cool project. We really enjoyed working with that renderer. And it makes it so we can do things like zoom and pan and composite all these images together in the view very, very quickly, which worked great.
And I have to say that your implementation, the real time, is really well done. Everything is so fast. Even the image generation is lightning fast. I'm impressed every time I use Prompty. So I don't know how you implemented Liveblocks exactly, but you did an awesome job. I have to say, it's a really cool experience.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, we have experience in the ML and AI side of things. So we have great people that kind of set us up for success in that regard. And honestly, Liveblocks set us up for success for the rest of it, because it just made it easy to just basically, we update our data however we want, and it kind of guarantees that everybody sees the same thing. And so that was just a really nice sort of relationship between those technologies. So that worked out really well in this case, I think.
Very cool. And if we think about Liveblocks and the multiple features, what was the impact on the company and on your team? What impact did it have?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. I think that the success of that project really, in a lot of ways, it made us realize that we can do things quickly if we work in this way, where we kind of abstract away the difficult problems to a vendor or to a specific service that is really specialized in that difficult problem. And what we found is that, in particular for Promptus, and in a lot of ways for the rest of the products that we're working on now throughout the company, is our new approach is essentially we should be focused on impactful and differentiated engineering, right? And not just engineering, but design and everything. But ultimately, we feel like we're the experts in what makes Facet unique and interesting. We're not the experts in other things that other people have thought about way more than us. And so the more time we can spend focused on the unique and differentiating aspects of Facet and of Promptus and of our products that we release, the more successful we're going to be and the more stuff we can release, essentially. And so to me, that has been really exciting, and we're trying to, keep that good feeling going in all of our other work now, because it was so fun for this Creative Week project that we want to continue to do that in the rest of our products as well. And so we're making some really exciting new things, also based on Liveblocks, and also implementing that strategy in terms of allowing us to maintain focus on our differentiating features that we see.
That is music to our ears. You have to know, because like helping company focus on what they're good at, on the features that are really differentiator, and us taking care of like the complex part of real-time collaboration and all that. That's what we want to do, and also like help you like a faster time to market. That's also like what we want. So very happy to hear that. And so great. I know like I have access to Slack, and I see that we have a group of discussion together. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience working with the Liveblocks team?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, we started out our relationship with Liveblocks. We discovered them. We had a quick call with the founders of the company, which we thought was great conversation to just kind of understand where they were going and what their sort of focus was for the future of what then was kind of a new organization and service. But then throughout our relationship with Liveblocks, we have participated in the Discord channel that you guys have, which is great. The Discord server, always getting lots of good feedback, not only from the team, but also from other Liveblocks consumers and users that are asking questions and making suggestions, and we can learn from their experience, which is awesome. And not only that, but Liveblocks, various members of the team have been kind enough to join us in our Slack channel, so that when we have questions or when things come up, we can ask for advice or best practices or report sort of suggestions or what have you. And they've been very communicative, and it's been great kind of having that communication line open. It's been very helpful for us. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like this has gone so well, and why we want to continue to do that, is because we just really feel like, there's a team we can rely on and that we can reach out to. And that's been an excellent experience for us.
I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you, Kyle, for everything. Would you like to add anything else before we leave?
I think that the only other thing I would say is that I really feel like collaborative experiences are kind of like the future of software in a lot of cases. And I think that as we find ourselves increasingly online or connected or even working in virtual environments, this is going to be really important. And I think, having a service like Liveblocks has been really great for us, because we see that, we see the value it can add to our product, and we really want to continue to invest in that and understand what sort of really cool features we can put in front of users and create opportunities for collaboration, which I think is always valuable, and it's going to be increasingly valuable in now and in the future. So that's just a really exciting thing for us, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
That's exactly why we're building Liveblocks. So I'm so happy that you're seeing that. And now, just like quickly for people that's watching this video, like where should we go to try Promptist, and like give us like a elevator pitch about like where to go, what it is, and why people should try it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Go check out Promptist. You can visit in the browser at prompt.ist, and you can sign up for an account pretty much instantly, jump into a room, start creating content, and it's all free. There's no billing or paid aspect to this. And so feel free to check that out anytime. Also, Facet kind of has a studio of products that we're working on, a lot related to Promptist that are coming out in the very near future, that are going to include multiplayer image, synthesis, AI, and ML features. And you can check out the rest of the studio products by visiting us at Facet.ai.
That sounds very exciting. Can't wait to see Liveblocks being used in Facet.ai and how you're going to bring collaboration to this amazing world. Thank you so much, Kyle, for your time. It was a great discussion, and talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Adrien.